Hi, it's Alex from Android Central, and this is the HTC One Max. It's HTC's new 5.9-inch handset, and it's the biggest phone they've ever produced. The Max joins the One and One Mini, which launched earlier in the year, and despite its enormous size, it's actually the Mini that it bears closest resemblance to. As you'd expect, it's got a brushed, curved aluminium chassis, but there's a plastic trim around the sides as opposed to the shiny, chamfered edges of the regular HTC One, making it feel just a little less premium. At the top and bottom, you've got HTC's loud, bassy boom sound speakers, which are actually slightly louder now than they were on the HTC One. Combined with the gigantic screen, the front-facing speakers make the One Max very tall, considerably taller than even the Galaxy Note 3. That means it's a very two-handed device, to the point where you probably won't even want to try to use it one-handed. Because it's a much larger phone, the buttons have been moved around too. Both power and volume now live on the right edge, though you still have a front-mounted IR blaster to use with the Sense TV app. Around the back, there are a couple more new features to see. There's a rear-mounted fingerprint scanner, which can be used for lock screen security or as a shortcut to load certain apps. You can map up to 3 fingers at a time and tag them to any app on the phone, but unfortunately the placement of the scanner and the way the software is implemented means that it's a little awkward to reach and just not that useful anyway. Unlike the other two HTC Ones, the Max has a removable back panel which you can clip off using this little switch on the side. You can't remove the battery, but there are slots back here for micro SIM and micro SD cards, so you can expand the built-in 16 or 32 gigs of storage. On the inside, the One Max is running a 1.7 GHz Snapdragon 600 CPU with 2 gigs of RAM. That's the same setup found in the original HTC One. It's no longer cutting edge, but it's not exactly slow either, and the Max is just as snappy as other high-end HTC phones. The same goes for the screen. It's a Super LCD panel that's extremely bright, vivid and clear. The Max is the first phone to run the new HTC Sense 5.5 UI, which brings a few new software features on top of Android 4.3 Jelly Bean. The visual style of Sense hasn't really changed, it's still very flat, stylized and modern looking, so it's mostly feature changes we're looking at here. The biggest changes have been focused on BlinkFeed, HTC's home screen reader that displays social and news updates. It's now got full support for Google Plus and Instagram, as well as RSS feeds, which is a long requested feature. It's also a bit easier to see exactly what's in your feeds and control what you're seeing through the new slide-out menu bar, which shows you all your various sources. From here you can also search for topics and save your searches to the menu bar for quick access. But if BlinkFeed isn't for you, it's now possible to turn it off completely, and that's just a single button press away. Most of the other big changes come in the Gallery app, which has been overhauled pretty significantly. You can now swipe left and right to quickly change between views and manage your HTC shares from within the app. And when you drill down to a folder or event view, you can now swipe to the side and view locations and manage your instant video highlights. And this is another area with a lot of new stuff. There's a new panel that lets you easily tag stuff for inclusion in your video. There are 12 themes to choose from, though strangely none of the ones from the original Sense 5.0 have made it across. You can also use your own music and video highlights, and in Sense 5.5 if you do this, you can create highlight reels that are longer than the old 30-second limit. And there are a whole bunch of smaller changes elsewhere in the new Sense. You can now customize your quick settings, there are 20 or so to choose from, and you can swap them in or out. There's also proper lock screen widget support, so you're no longer limited to just one widget for your lock screen. Swipe to the left and you can add multiple pages of widgets. The HTC camera setup hasn't changed too much on the One Max. You're still looking at a 4MP ultra pixel rear camera and a 2MP front facer. Like the One Mini though, the Max lacks optical image stabilization, meaning there's no hardware to compensate for hand motion, and that's something you'll notice in low light shots and videos in particular. Add that to the fact the ultra-pixel sensor has never been a great performer in daylight, and you've got a very average camera experience. One area where the Max excels though is battery life. It's got a 3300 mAh non-removable battery that'll see you through a full day even of the heaviest use. And new software features help out too, including sleep mode, which can automatically learn when you're less likely to be using the phone and turn off radios accordingly. So that's the HTC